you go to Pauline Hanson and what she has said and been saying all along. She said that if we keep going the way we're going, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And people have figured out, a lot of people have figured out that she's right.
Mm-hmm. And I think across all civilization and functioning democracy, the freedom to speech is very critical, because the first thing in a totalitarian regime, the first thing taken off from citizen is the speech. And because once you curb that freedom of speech, and when you buy out the fourth pillar, which is media, you go towards super control, large government. You have to give away all your rights and freedoms to the government.
Yeah. So Dev, if you consider the religion of Islam, and you can start in Morocco, on the western side of Africa, and come right across the northern part of Africa itself, and then into the Middle East, all those Islamic nations that exist there, you have one shining democracy, one tiny, I think it's 2% of the area of the population that is Israel. It is a democracy. Look, they riot and they protest and they do all sorts of things, but they accept the fact that you should have a freedom to speak. This doesn't exist in any other Islamic nation across the whole of the Middle East. They've lost that freedom to speak. And largely speaking, they're totalitarian states. And if you look at Turkey today, which was actually a functioning democracy, it's not anymore. Erdogan has put so much legislation in place that he's almost cemented his position. So let's look at what democracy is about and what we might inherit as we bring these people to our country. They're not interested in democracy. They've come from nations where that religion has overrun any concept of democracy. And what they are calling for in our country is not the democracy that we grew up with. We need to be very careful about our capacity, perceived capacity, to absorb these people into our culture and our society, because they don't want to be.
And you're talking about radical of any kind?
Of any kind. But one of the things that defines Christianity, Judaism and a number of other religions is we love life. We love being alive. We love life. It's an important part to us. This, as preached by the radicals, is a religion that says paradise awaits you. You can do whatever you like. You can murder, you can kill, whatever you like. But paradise awaits you. Celebrate death. Welcome death. We have a massive confrontation here between a society that loves life and another society at its extreme that doesn't love life. And it's dangerous. From
a point of view of the two-party system in Australia, Liberal Party and the Labour Party, and there are other smaller parties. So what's happening right now, you can see a surging vote share or primary vote share of One Nation. And then there's a gap being filled on the centre-right part of the politics, which has been filled by One Nation in some way or form, and voters are seeing them as an alternative, and that's what the numbers are looking in the most recent polling. What do you see that trend reflective of, and what's your projections on that?
Dev, what we need to consider are the primary vote, the parties that people vote for. It's running Labor and Liberal at about 30%, give or take. There's not much defining the difference between these two parties, and so then it comes down to the preferential voting system that we've got, which got the socialist parties into power. But it also explains that the population of Australia is not that convinced that these two parties offer an alternative. You go to Pauline Hanson and what she has said and been saying all along. She said that if we keep going the way we're going, this is what's going to happen. And people have figured out, a lot of people have figured out that she's right. That really it may seem harsh, but she's been right. And if you go back even further to the 60s and 70s, there was a fellow in Great Britain called Enoch Powell. He was vilified and attacked and criticised by the vast majority of people who largely unthinking. He said, if you're not careful, you will change the complete nature of our nation. And it's happened. You now have these enclaves of Islam in London, in Birmingham and other areas, and France as well, where you're starting to see Sharia law as becoming the law of that suburb or that city. And this is wrong. I mean, for heaven's sake, we have a belief system in our country and we have a legal system in our country, and everybody should be subservient to that. And suddenly you have these groups rising up in centralised areas, especially Western Sydney, where they actually dominate electorates. And it was said a little while ago that the reason that the Labor Party has been so soft on these protests in Sydney is because they are Labor-held seats. And these parties themselves might not have the power to elect their representative, but they have a lot of power in determining who will be the representative of that electorate. And so you might find that these little sort of small electorates can provide the 4 or 5 seats that will determine whether a Liberal government governs us or a Labor government governs us. And that is a huge power that's never existed in our country before, because we've never voted on the basis of religion, ever. But we're beginning to adopt that. So we're in very dangerous territory right now, and no one seems to...
The merger of church and state.
Sorry?
The merger of church and state.
Yes. And this is wrong. I mean...
And the democracy believes in the segregation of church and state.
It absolutely does. Whereas Islam, it bridges everything. All those nations I spoke of earlier on that are part of that Islamic empire, whatever you like to call it, the states are individual, but the overarching is the religion. And the religion largely dominates what normal people would consider to be a democracy. And Iran is a classic case. When you look at the Iran under the Shah, it might not have been the most perfect place in the world, but it flourished. And now you're seeing people from Iran escaping and just saying the place is not a place where democracy exists or where ordinary people want to live. And so, unfortunately, this religion is dominating politics. It's dangerous.